Hello and welcome to this mini training on the 5 mindset shifts to up-level your money game. Now, this is derived from my coaching program, Rewriting Your Money Story, but you don't have to be involved in the program or enrolled in the course in order to get value from this video. Each of these mindset shifts will stand on its own. You can use all of them or just one of them and make a profound difference in your relationship to money. Now, you may or may not be familiar with me. My name is Daniel Danovi. I'm a peak performance coach, a workshop and seminar leader, and I've been working with individuals for the last 30 years. In fact, I was coaching before coaching was actually called coaching in the personal development realm. I'm a firewalk instructor. In fact, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about all the things I've done and what I can help people with. If you want to learn more about me specifically, you can look it up. There's a bio on the page. You can Google me. I'm sure I'll come up all over the place. But we're going to dive in here, the 5 mindset shifts to up-level your money game. Okay, here we go. This is the training of the 5 mindset shifts to up-level your money game. And understandably so, these may not be the only mindset shifts you can make around money, but I've identified these as the most significant, the most effective, the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak, in up-leveling your money game or developing a working relationship with money. Wouldn't it be nice to have a working relationship with money? But before we go too far, let's begin by clarifying the key distinctions, the key ideas behind mindset. And that'll be the mindset itself, belief, and how do we define money. So when we look at mindset, in and of itself, it's somewhat ambiguous. It does not exist in time and space. In fact, for the longest time, I had a rough time with mindset because everyone used it. They said they were a mindset coach or they up-level your mindset. And I didn't know exactly what that meant. So we're going to just kind of flesh it out and use some other words along the way to represent mindset. It is an overall attitude, a strategy. It could be considered a frame of reference, a particular perspective, point of view, or a paradigm. Or you could also refer to it as a set of beliefs, i.e. mindset, that creates overall the context for the tactics, the actions, and the behaviors that follow taking on a particular mindset. Now, we will flesh this out over time, and you'll have a better understanding of what mindset is and how, if not definitively, you'll have a deep understanding of what a mindset means for you. Second word we'll look at is believe. And the first thing I want to say is there is no such thing. What do you mean, no such thing? I'm saying there's no such thing as a belief. How can I say that? I mean, I have a belief. I know you have beliefs, right? Don't you have a belief? Well, there's no such thing as a belief, meaning that it does not exist in time and space. In linguistics, it's a nominalization. It is a verb that has been turned into a noun. Now, you can believe something, but you can't have a belief. You can't point to it on the wall. You can't pull it around in a wagon or pull it out of your pocket and give it away. No, a belief is not a thing. A belief is a concept of mind. It is merely an idea that we are convinced is true. It's a story of meaning that we've adopted about the world in our relationship to reality. Even though we consider it to be true, it's not absolutely true. I mean, can a belief be absolutely true? Can you possess the truth for all mankind? Well, let's investigate that. Let's consider on planet Earth. There's currently 7.5 billion people, give or take. And each of those people have their own set of beliefs, their own set of values, their own history, their own perspective on life. And some of them, many of them, experience what they know about the world as being the truth. Now, is your truth any better than somebody else's? Can anyone possess the truth, the absolute truth? Makes one wonder, doesn't it? Let's take a different approach on this. Let's take any one of those people, or consider maybe a loved one, someone intimate to you, someone you know really well, and imagine trading brains with them. 1-to-1, trade your brain with their brain. It doesn't take you very long in that consideration to understand that, gosh, they don't have my brain, and I don't have their brain. In fact, I have no idea what I'm getting myself in for. I might be getting an upgrade or maybe a downgrade. But you immediately understand you don't have their beliefs, you don't have their values, their perceptions, their perspectives, their history, and all the references, all the reference experiences that they have. Yet how often do you interact with other people as if they have your brain? How often do you interact with other people as if you have the truth, that you're right, that your way is the right way? So when you have a belief, is it absolutely true? No, not so much. No one person has the absolute truth, but it can be said that whatever you believe, it is true and valid for you. It has meaning for you. But, if you've ever believed anything from time to time, there's been times when you found out that it just wasn't true later. Like, you can peruse over your history, look over your childhood and your young adulthood, or you had ideas about yourself that you've come to realize just weren't true. There were ideas that you had about the world, about the way the world worked. And at some point you found out it wasn't true. Yet when you believed it, it was reality. It was real. But if you can't think of anything off the top of your head, let's visit your childhood. Chances are you had some type of relationship with Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, or Father Christmas, depending on where you are on the planet. Now, you had experiences as a kid that you directly attributed to your belief. You changed your behavior in order to be on the good list for Santa Claus and not on the naughty list. You took a baby tooth as it fell out and you made sure that it got underneath your pillow so the Tooth Fairy would leave you some coins, some money, or maybe some other kind of gift. You see, you altered your behavior based on the belief that you had at the time, even though you probably changed it later on in life. And I say probably because I still kind of think that Santa Claus is a real deal here. I'm still working that out. My point is you've had beliefs along the way that you've challenged at one point or another, and you've either validated them or you found out that they were not the truth. But also understanding this, that we don't typically go around challenging every belief we hold, because frankly, that would be problematic. Because we have to assume a certain amount of solidity or confidence in that we have a point of view on the world that is somewhat accurate. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to take action. But somebody that is really grounded in self-knowledge, self-development, would on occasion question what you believe. But you have to get around this other thing. You see, as a human being, we have this mental bias, an unconscious program to confirm our experience of reality, to confirm what we currently think we know to be true. And this unconscious program is called the confirmation bias. Now, going back to a belief, remember, there's no such thing. A belief is a concept, an idea that we feel fairly certain is true. So once we adopt a hypothesis, once we believe something to be true, we tend to only see the evidence that confirms and validates that belief. What? What I'm saying is, given all the available information, we tend to only sort for the evidence that confirms and validates and supports our current belief. It's difficult once you believe something to get your mind changed unless you yourself begin to question it. Chances are other people are not going to dissuade you from what you believe, because damn it, I'm certain that it's true. Well, In turn, the more evidence you gather that aligns with that belief, the stronger that belief becomes over time. So the question I ask you, which came first, the chicken, which is the belief, or the egg, the evidence? Which came first? Was it your belief or was it the evidence? Well, let's investigate that a little further. Henry Ford, the industrialist, said this: if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. You see, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you think, whatever you believe, is the way the world begins to work. So, which came first, the belief or the evidence? That's considered the Empire State Building. At one time, it was the world's tallest building. It was featured in the movie King Kong. I forget the date, but it was a long time ago. It has been surpassed many times over as the tallest building in the world, but it is by name the most recognizable building in the world. But it didn't just start out this way. It was just a square piece of real estate on the ground, and it began as a dream. It began as an idea. In fact, you can look at anything in your environment, whether it's your computer, your device, or anything around you that is built, been created, manufactured. It was a dream one time. It was an idea. It was a concept. It was somebody's story about what was possible. Now, if you notice in the drawing, and then think back that there's a tower to the Empire State Building, that wasn't in the original plan. It was only supposed to be that tall. But at the time, there was a race to have the tallest building in the world. The Chrysler Building was deemed or on schedule to be taller than the Empire State Building. So what did they do? They affixed a radio tower to the top. They designed it in 200 feet of radio tower to broadcast across the city, across the nation. And it became, because of the tower, it became the tallest building in the world. But it all began with just a dream, just an idea. So how do we create results? You see, you adopt a hypothesis, you accept it as true, you develop a belief, and those collection of beliefs creates a mindset. And then your mindset filters and structures your thought. Your thoughts lead to feelings, which then lead to actions and behaviors. And your actions and behaviors create results. So your results are always going to be in alignment with your beliefs and your mindset. Meaning you can't create a result that is in opposition to what you think and believe is true. The results you're getting is a reflection of your mind. It's a reflection of your thinking. So if you enjoy your current experience with money, it's because of the mindset you currently have. If you don't enjoy your experience with money, then it is a reflection of the current mindset that you have, the current belief system that you have around money. So change your thinking, change your story, change your life. So moving on, what is money? What is money? I mean, if I see it, I know what it is, but how would you describe it? Money is a tool. It is a medium of exchange between individuals, two parties, sometimes multiple parties, to convey value. I value what you have. Here's a little bit of money to compensate you for the value that I'm going to receive. But in most cases, in all cases, value is a matter of perception. One man's meat is another man's poison. My dad used to collect junk on the side of the road and turn around and sell it. And he always said, one man's junk is another man's treasure. See, it's all around perception. But we don't want money also as an end to a means. It's a means to an end. Let me say it a different way. We don't want money for the money itself, but we want it for what we can get with it, what we can do with it. We want it for the freedom that it would provide. We want it for the travel, the flexibility. See, it's not the money itself. It's what we can do with it. See, in the end, we want the essence of money. And we'll dive a little bit deeper in the distinction between form and essence But understand that we don't really want money. In the end, we want how we will feel as a result of what we can do with money. But let's say back in the day, before money was a thing, you needed a new roof. And John down the street knew how to do a roof. And John told you that he would put a roof on your house. How would you compensate John? Seriously. You might offer some barter. You might say, I'm going to do your laundry for the next year, or chop you some wood. You might exchange something. Or you might even offer, some chickens or some cows in exchange. And very often, there was an exchange of livestock or what you had on hand. But over time that, it kind of got cumbersome. You didn't necessarily go to the marketplace and, with your chickens in tow. So maybe you had something that could represent the chickens, represent the cows, or something that someone else could buy the chickens or the cows with. Now, somewhere along the line, someone said gold was desirable. It didn't seem like there was a lot on the planet. It was kind of shiny. It was kind of cool. And gold had value. Does it? Is it only have value because someone somewhere said it does? I mean, it has a lot of industrial uses. It is the only metal that doesn't tarnish, that doesn't corrode. So it has some properties. But is it as valuable as people make it out to be? Well, for a long time, gold was the medium of exchange. But again, gold's heavy. So someone along the line came up with some tokens, some coinage, in order to represent gold. The small coins were maybe half of a gold piece or a quarter of a gold piece, and the larger pieces was worth 2 pieces of gold. So again, the value was arbitrarily set. Who said? We agreed on it and it worked. So suddenly we're trading coins. But I don't know if you've ever had a pocket full of coins or a purse full of coins. Again, it gets kind of heavy. So they came up with this idea. Paper. Let's just print somebody's picture on a piece of paper and call it valuable. Like, who says? At one point in time, each dollar was backed by the promise of gold and silver. In fact, in the United States, they created Fort Knox, and there's a supply of gold. But I forget, in the 40s, they took away the gold standard, they put it back, and they took it away again in 1971. And suddenly, money is just a concept. Money is just an idea. It's not backed of anything of value. The fewer the people that have something, doesn't it create greater value? Again, it's all perception, wouldn't you say? Well, we don't hardly even use bills anymore. On the mobile devices, I get an electronic notification that I now have a deposit in my account. $10,587.50. Boom. I never saw the money, never saw the cash. I could turn around and pay bills with that and never set my eyes on an actual piece of money. It's conceptual. It's an idea. Are you beginning to get the thought that maybe money isn't even real? Ooh. Let's take credit cards. Maybe I don't have enough cash on hand, and I talk to a financial institution or someone willing to offer me credit. They say, hey, you look pretty good on paper. We think you have some value. That you're good for future repayment. So we'll give you this piece of plastic that says that you're good for it. Like whatever you want to buy, you're good for it. Really? Yep. Just pay it off over time, and we'll charge you a little bit of interest for the good faith. It's a piece of plastic. Is the Visa any less valuable than the American Express? And you have the American Express Gold Card. Well, the Sapphire card is pretty close to the Platinum card. And then if you want the top of the line, American Express will give you a Black Card. And other card carriers are now offering the Black Card, which is typically by invitation, but it's just a matter of perception. It's a matter of prestige. The gold card, the gold American Express doesn't buy any more or any less than the Black Card. In fact, the Black Card costs you $10,000 for an application fee and $7,500 a year in yearly fees. Just to have the Black Card, just to pull it out and say, look at me, I have a Black Card. See, it's all perception. Does it really make sense? Ultimately, it's a piece of plastic. It's a petroleum product. Yet we use it as if it's money. It's an idea. I think money at one point was more real when it was chickens and cows. Don't you think? Well, money is a created concept. And now that Bitcoin is coming out, or a cryptocurrency, even more so. It's a structure, it's an idea of attaching value. By and large, money is an exchange of energy. It's what we offer to flow, that flows back and forth. And as energy, energy never dissipates, it never is destroyed, it only recreates to another place. So if money is energy, there is no shortage of money. You can just look at the governments right now. Once they start tapping out the resources, the supply of money, they print more. And if you were to take money and you put it in the bank, they'll take that money. It just doesn't sit in the bank. They take that money and they invest it in Joe's house down the street, or they, loan it to a business. So that money isn't really sitting in the bank. They put it to work in the marketplace, and then they pay it back. And, there's this flow of money that goes back and forth the whole time. It's people trading ideas. So the amount of money at any point in time in circulation expands all the time. Did you know that every day $1 trillion changes hands? Every day. It doesn't sit. It just doesn't sit. It flows to the perception of value. It flows to where value is perceived. You see, you never have a money problem. In the end, you always have an idea problem. Because again, money is conceptual. It flows to ideas. It flows to value. So the real question is how can you add value? Your money question is how can you add value? And in the end, you always get the greatest bang for your buck for your mental capacity, for your intellectual property, your skill set in how you can think or how you can problem solve or what you can make easier for someone else. Because if you can do what anybody else can do, then you're easily replaceable. Then you become a commodity in the marketplace. One way to raise your value is to raise your perceived value to the marketplace. So money is a mindset. It is an attitude, it is a strategy, it's a paradigm or a frame, a context, perspective, a set of beliefs that creates the context for how things work, how things flow, the tactics and the behaviors that occur. So let's now dive deeper into the 5 mindset shifts to up-level your money game. Mindset number 1 is play the money game. Play it as a game. Gamification. Now, when you play it as a game, suddenly you take the seriousness of money off the table. Now, money is important, and I'm not saying that if you don't take it seriously, it's not important. But don't take it seriously unless you're prepared to have serious fun. It can be important and fun. When you bring fun, when you bring the adventure and the idea of possibility to money, to creating money, to attracting money, it changes the dynamic. It changes the energy around it. Now, the other thing about money is that you can count it and keep score. How are you doing in the money game? I don't know. Let's count. And you count it up, and whatever you have today, whatever you have at this moment is just what you have right now. It doesn't mean that you won't have anything tomorrow or any more, or you could have 10 times more tomorrow or 10 times less. And it's possible to go in the negative conceptually, because basically you go to zero, you can't really go any more than zero, can you? But again, it's easy to play the game of money because you can count it and keep score. Again, this is from the idea of unemotional attachment. It's just the facts. I have $10,000 in my account, and tomorrow I have $11,000. I'm getting better. I'm improving. It's increasing. And so you can just add it up, keep score, and that's the way you do it. And you can have fun doing that, can you not? And in the idea of a game, gamification, you can use the curiosity and wonder. In playing a game, I wonder how many ways I can attract $10,000. I wonder how many things I can do, how many creative activities I can be involved in. See, when we get curious and we wonder, we can actually sidestep any limiting belief that is there. In curiosity, we invite the imagination to come in and expand possibility. Now, I have written there, make it a contest, make it a game. Let's say over the next 100 days, we're going to make $100,000. And the game is to win, I have to make $100,000. The question is, how many different ways can I come up with to make $100,000? Now, it depends on my skill set. It depends on my creative mind. But we can do this by counting to 10 and win. It's a way of gamifying the money game. It's a way of problem solving or creating a solution. So let's say it's $100,000 is the goal. On a piece of paper, I can count down or list down from 1 to 10 and then just write it out. I can come up with one process, one activity, one person to give me or flow to me $100,000. If I break it down to 2 sources, it comes down to $50,000. 4 sources, down to $25,000. 50 sources of $2,000 will give me $100,000. Now, I have a coaching program that is just under $6,000. So at number 7, at just under $6,000, I'd have to come up with 15 people in the next 100 days to join my coaching program to hit $100,000. You can take any amount that you want to accumulate and break it down. Now, 100 days may seem unrealistic to a lot of people. Again, you want to play a game where it seems like you might win, because if the odds are stacked against you, you could set it up to win, like set the goal at $100,000, and even though you have no idea how you're going to get there, if you get $10,000, $20,000 instead, that's still a lot more than you probably had going for you on the front end of this game. This is a way to take any amount and you can break it down into bite-sized chunks. You could say $100,000 over a year. And how would that look? Well, 12 months of $100,000 comes out to $8,333 a month. You take $8,333 and break it down by 4.3 weeks, which is the average number of weeks in a month. And that's about just under $2,000 a week. You take that amount and divide it by 7, you come out to $277 a day. So you would have to earn $277 a day every day for a month to come up with $100,000. Now, in this example, I'm using, sales of a product or a service that a person could sell. If they sold one each and every day at $277 a day, then they would accumulate $100,000 at the end of 1 year. Or maybe 2 products at $138, 5 products at $56. Now, to the right there, you'll see a birdhouse. It's the Chirp Modern birdhouse. My best friend retired and had a pension. And then he began this birdhouse company. And on average, he would sell about 5 a day when he was selling them. He couldn't make enough by himself to keep in demand. So let's say for 6 months through online sales and going to art shows, art fairs around the country, he would sell on average about 5 a day. So over the course of the 6 months, he brought in roughly $50,000. Well, he was already getting about $50,000 in his pension, so he just made up the difference and was able to do quite well for himself. But the idea here is once you work out the figures, once you work out what you're trying to attract, what you're trying to do, then it becomes a lot easier coming up with different ways to make the money, attract the money. Now, that's a whole nother conversation on different ways to attract money, to magnetize money, magnetize ideas. But we'll just expand on this little concept for right now, just to get you in the whole mindset of gamification. So we had Jerry, and Jerry created 10 special interest or niche websites that generated $1,000 a month in ad revenue. So he had 10 websites at $1,000 a month. He generated $120,000 a year. The next year, he added products catering to each of the niches and averaged $800 per website per month in product sales. Now, the websites were like dog grooming in one, dog breeding, cat breeding. Actually, it was a specific breed of cat. So it was very particular, very niche, and it had a specific audience. Rather than appeal to everyone, you just need a segment of the market. Remember, there's $1 trillion that changes hands every day. All you have to do is figure out a way to get a little bit of that funneling into your pocket on a regular basis. So then on the second year, I didn't even complete that statement. On the second year, let's see, he created an additional $96,000. Add that the $120,000 he was already getting in ad revenue. And he now had a little machine, a little money machine that he created that was generating over $200,000 a year. So let's say that $100,000 is a little bit outside your imagination right now. How about, how would it feel to bring in an extra $1,000 a month? An extra $1,000 a month. So if you divide 1,000 by 30 days, that comes out to $34 a day. And you might say, how can I do that? Well, you have 24 hours a day times 7 days in a week. That's 168 hours in a week total. Let's say you sleep 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's 56 hours you subtract. Let's say you work 40 hours a week at a job and 7 hours a week in commute time, an hour each day, half hour each way. That's what I figured. You spend 21 hours a week eating. That might be a little excessive. 7 hours a week in hygiene, shower, dress, hour a day. That leaves you, if you subtract all that out, you have a discretionary amount of time of 37 hours a week or 5.5 hours a day in which you could run a side hustle or a gig. You could easily generate $34 a day on average. A friend of mine was a photographer, and he started booking weddings on Friday night and Saturdays. He was doing 2 weddings on Saturdays and sometimes on Sunday. So Friday, he'd have up to 4 weddings in a weekend. He charged $700 straight fee. He would go and shoot the entire ceremony and go and spend an hour and a half at the reception, take all these snapshots and give them every photo. He wouldn't do any editing. He wouldn't do anything. It was up to them. He just gave them all the pictures that he took. And he was generating over $2,500 a weekend, part-time work. And he actually had to scale back because he was so busy. But that's how he funded his retirement. That's how he got to a place where he could actually leave the job where he was, leave the job that he didn't necessarily love. He got creative and he found a way to exit stage left. So that is gamification. Turn it into a game. Play with the imagination. Mindset number 2, embrace the abundance mindset. That might seem like it's a no-brainer. Of course, don't I want to embrace the abundance mindset? Well, this is what Einstein had to say. The most important decision we make is whether we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. It's a decision, is it not? Now, I consider myself to think in abundant terms, but it hasn't always been that way. And even now, sometimes I catch myself coming from the position of scarcity. I created basically this little chart here, and scarcity is based in fear of loss. Abundance is based in love. So at any point in time, you can look at any decision that you have, any process that you're going to be involved in, and ask yourself, am I coming from the position of fear or from a position of love? Now, when I say love, it is unconditional love. Now, I split up the 2 words, and I have some words there that represent each of those attributes. In scarcity, there's contraction, and you can feel that. And it's where your body contracts. There's a tightness in your chest, and like you just contract into a ball. Versus expansion, as your arms are open, it's wide open, it's light and airy. Contraction is heavy and dense. Do you tend to hoard? Do you want all the pie? Are you really greedy and make sure that you get all the pie? This just popped in my head. I just saw a street vendor, a girl singing near a subway station, and people were giving her tips. And while she was singing, this homeless guy come up and started searching the garbage for something to eat. And she stopped singing, and went over to her tip jar and pulled out some money and said, here, I want you to buy some fresh ones. Will you promise me you'll buy some fresh ones? Go buy some fresh ones. He says, are you sure? And she says, absolutely. And then she felt good about it. He went off on his way, and she started singing again. Well, a guy came up and gave her twice as much as he gave her. So she was in the concept of abundance, and no better example than that of feeding in and tapping into abundance, that there's more than enough to go around. Here she is, begging for money by singing, and somebody else needed it more than her at that moment, and she was willing to share. She was willing to give. So on the scarcity side is hoarding, the idea that money and time is scarce, versus on the abundance side, there's no limit to money. There's more than enough. On the scarcity side, whenever there's a competition or if we both want something, there's the idea that one of us has to lose and only one of us can win. Well, on the abundance side, it's a win-win. And when you can come from the context, how can everyone win in this? You also understand that because no two people have the same brain, that everyone wants something different, a little bit different. So just because what's winning for you isn't necessarily the same as winning for someone else. So you can basically orchestrate every deal, every exchange, so it's a win-win for everyone. Because sometimes people get caught up in the form of stuff and they're not connected to the essence. So if you can find out what the essence is, what do they want after the dust clears, after they win, what will they have? You might be able to deliver that and still get what you want. Now, on the scarcity side, zero-sum gain is the idea that no matter what you do, nobody wins. You just can't win. You just can't get ahead. Versus the law of the universe on the other side, which is abundance. Abundance is the law of the universe. Look at nature. Only God can count the number of apples in an apple seed. Everything expands. Everything propagates. Everything is in abundance. Every seed is 20 blades of grass. Every stalk of wheat produces 50 seeds. Scarcity side, effort and struggle versus grace and ease. Now, effort is different than struggle. Effort can be fine if it's in alignment, but if you're like, oh, God, I got to do this, that is in the idea of scarcity, rather than you get to do this. Scarcity side, it's hard. So you're starting to get the idea that, you might be in some ways on the left. And so you pick the areas where you're a living life in scarcity and you flip it on the side of abundance and ask yourself the question, if I was operating from a space of love or expansion, how might this be different? And then the idea of making money or earning money, I got to go get money, like you got to take it from somebody else. Versus attracting. You see, money flows. And so when you're attracting money, it doesn't come from other people. It comes through other people because no one really owns money, do they? Everyone's just using it. So this is just a short list. I created this PDF with a lot more on the list, and you can download this at yesdaniel.com/money. Chances are it's on the page. There's a link on the page where you're viewing this video, but that's where you go, and I'll have it somewhere in the description. But yesdaniel.com, you can get this different thing, and you can look at the different aspects or different characteristics of scarcity that you may be living in versus the characteristics of abundance. So, mindset number 3, modeling. The idea that you can model excellence. If somebody else can do it, so can you. Now, this is firmly grounded in neuro-linguistic programming. I'm an NLP master trainer, have been since 1988. When you model another person, you adopt and mirror their rules, their code of conduct, their beliefs, their values. This is basically like trading brains with somebody. This is the structure of self-identity, or their ideas about replicating a particular skill. So if you model someone's beliefs, model their values, use the strategies that they have, and take some of the same actions, most of the same actions, or use the same tactics, you'll get the similar or the same results. Now, how do you learn all this stuff? Well, there's an invisible university. Now, when I was a kid, I wished for God there was a YouTube channel, but I just had the library. And the interesting thing is that, at least in the United States, the library is still free. You don't need any money to get a library card, and you have access to the world. You have access to a computer. If that's not abundance, I don't know what is. So virtually anything that you want to learn, you can view on YouTube. You can do a web search. Just about any information can be had. Someone has written on it. Someone's done a blog post on it. It's available on the web. You just have to discern the level of expertise that you're getting. There's a certain amount of discernment there. Well, you can read a book. In fact, you can get the top 5 books in a particular field that has the condensation of years of expertise and read those 5 books, no matter how long it takes you. Let's say it takes you 3 months to read all 5 books. At the end of that let's say you read the top book over a weekend and you identify the top principles, the top values, the top problems inside that field from that book. By the end of you reading that book over a weekend, you'll know more than 90% of the population on the planet. You would be considered an expert. And depending on how you work it, how you model or create your learning program, you can actually create expertise within 90 days that is world-class in virtually any field. Well, I'm getting off on a tangent. So what I'm saying is no matter where you are, you can replicate excellence. You can acquire a new skill, come in at a whole new level. You can get a coach or a mentor that can guide you, someone that else has done it or knows how to do it, that has gotten proven results. Or you could take an online course. Again, more than any other time in history, you have access to a plethora, an abundance of information to take you to a whole new level. In fact, you have access to this training right here. This is the result of 20 years of my own, journey of, wasting money, losing money and gaining money, up-leveling my income. When I first started out, I only charged $25 for a session. I started out as a hypnotist. And then I went to $50 an hour, and then $75 an hour or a session. And then $150, then $250. Then I decided to charge by the result. And then it went to $500 for a series of sessions, and then $1,500, then $1,200, and $1,500, and $2,500. And now it's over $5,000 to sit down and talk with me. But at each stage of the game, each stage of me increasing my rates, I had to up-level my money story. I had to shift my perception about my value and get connected to the value that I was delivering. And then in some ways, guarantee or assure the value that was being received. And I get to say, you get to say how much you charge for something. And then you just have to convince other people to pay what you're asking. If you're delivering the value, if you're delivering the goods, then the value seems self-evident. It's worth the money because most often, and I tell people this, when they pay me money for coaching, in a very short order, the money that they've given me is gone to other places. I don't have the money anymore. But you have the benefit, the long-term value for the rest of your life of having the knowledge, having the transformation, having the shift. To me, who made out better in this deal? So on to number, what are we on? 3, 4? It is the energy of money. Now, when I first heard this concept, to live in the energy of money, I had no idea. It just didn't make sense to me. Now, I first started researching law of attraction, money mindset back in the 80s by reading the book, The Nature of Personal Reality, a Seth book. And what's interesting is slowly over time, I've come to this epiphany. When you think about this all the time and you're ruminating about it and you're running it through your brain, you have these connections, these epiphanies. And I got it. What is the energy of money? Well, I want to go in first to this one concept, this distinction of form versus essence. When I was talking earlier, the idea of money is the form. People think they want the money. They don't want the money. They don't want the form. They want the essence. What will money deliver? What can you do with money? And then even drilling it down further, the essence of it is how will you feel when you can use the money in the way that you want? It's all about a feeling. It's a vibe thing. So if you begin to think about what is the energy of lack, Think about what is the emotional connection of lack. Think about lack, not having enough, not enough money to pay the bills, not enough to even get a lunch. Like you're hungry, but you don't have any money in your pocket. It could be, the idea that you need to save and that you need to squirrel away money here and squirrel it away there. Saving's good in some respects, but just saving for the sake of saving is the idea comes from lack. The idea of going to the store and stretching your money with coupons. Now, there's some people that do a phenomenal job with coupons, but again, it's how do you feel when you're doing it? Do you feel like there's no other way you can afford it unless you use the coupon, or is it in the excitement or the game of seeing how much money you can save using the coupons? Personally, I don't think it's worth the time, by and large, but there's some people that save hundreds of thousands of dollars every year on coupons and discounts. So, again, it's the feeling, it's the energy behind the stretching the dollar, having to make it work. Maybe you're spreading the peanut butter extra thin on your peanut butter jelly sandwich in order to make it go further. The energy of being miserly, like hoarding the money, keeping it close, not sharing, that goes along with greed. Then there's the guilt of spending money on yourself, or the guilt of indulgence. That comes from the context of lack, that I don't deserve it. And then there's the shame. I once had a payday of $125,000. 4.5 months later, the money's gone with nothing to show for it, for the most part. I splurged and I spent it with nothing really I was a little ashamed of that. I look at it now as it was $125,000 lesson in money management. I've never done that again. So that context of shame came from a space that I was not enough, that I did something wrong. And in the grand scheme of things, you can always make more money. You can always attract more money, can you not? Of course you can. There is no such thing as missed opportunity. There's opportunity around, that's the abundance mindset. There's an opportunity around every corner. They come again and again. I used to think that there was only so many people out there that I could be a partner with. And so when a girl or a woman broke up with me, I was miserable. Then I got, if she broke up with me, that just made room for somebody else. And there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Don't you think I can find at least 100 people that would be interested in me? Think of it this way. Let's say that you consider yourself to be ugly. In fact, 95% of the people on the planet find you ugly, unattractive, don't want anything to do with you. Do you realize that that would still leave over 7 million people that would find you attractive? I think that's an epiphany. So you got to play the numbers game. Again, back to gamification. Can you imagine? 95% of the people on the planet find you ugly, yet your options, you have 7 million people to pick from. There's a match for everybody. There's an idea for everything. You just have to find your place in the sun, wouldn't you say? So if that's the energy of lack, what's the energy of money? What is the energy of money? Well, it's like this. Imagine enough. What is the feeling of enough? You have enough in the bank, enough in your pocket. You have enough. You can pay all your bills. You can pay all your commitments and still have enough left over. You're connected to the value of things. You value what you buy. You value your purchases. You don't feel like someone's taking something from you. It's an even exchange. You get the value. Something that I think is interesting. Over the years, I've been charging more and more money. And sometimes people will say, well, that's too much money. And I ask the question, well, how much too much is it? And they go, what do you mean? What do you say? Huh? How much too much is it? If I'm delivering a certain amount of value and anywhere else you go, you'd pay a similar amount. It's not too much money. It's what its value is. You see, when we're living in the idea or the context of lack, we look at price and we make a determination right away. Oh, I'm not willing to pay that. I don't have enough. When you're connected to the long-term value of it, then it's worth it. You understand the value. Quality versus quantity. Sometimes people buy a lot of things. They buy the cheapest thing in order just to get it, rather than buy the quality, buy what they want and the quality behind it, because it will last longer. I'm still amazed that I have can openers for the last 30 years. It still works. I spent the extra money to buy a quality iron, because every time that I would get the iron out, I had a cheap thing. It was lightweight. It didn't really do a good job. So I spent the $80 for a quality iron. For as little as I use it over the years, I still have it. And I love it every time I get it out. I have an experience with it every time I use the iron. In fact, I want to get the iron out and use it. I could use it more. The energy of money, gratitude and appreciation. There's no greater thing you can do than to express gratitude. To make a list of the things that you're grateful for. What do you love and appreciate in your life? This is one way to up-level and connect to the energy of money, because the byproduct of gratitude is joy and love. That feeling inside, nobody can take that away from you. It will rewire your brain, rewire your body. So gratitude is probably the greatest thing you can do to up-level your energy of money. Confidence and courage. When you express confidence, when you spend with confidence, when you know you spend money, more is going to come in. You act with confidence that there is a flow of money that changes hands each and every day, and that you get your value. And that if you have money going out today, you're going to get more down the road. There's no such thing as lost opportunity. No lost money. Just more is going to come. And then not just some, but overflow. But let me go back to courage, because when you feel or you're in scarcity and you need to make a different decision, it's going to take a certain amount of courage, because when fear is present, you need courage to overcome it, because fear is telling you to stop. Fear is telling you to hold back, and courage is a slap in the face of fear. Courage is not present without fear. Courage is nothing without fear. But the way you move from fear to abundance, to the energy of money, is with courage. The fear is not telling you to stop. It's telling you to pay attention. And when you embrace it with courage and confidence, you can step forward in a new direction. You can tell a new story. And then the feeling of flow, money flowing in, rivers of money flowing in, not just some, but overflow, more than enough, more than I need. I have all that I need, and then I have more. And it's always more, going down to growth, always more, ever increasing, more, never losing money. Warren Buffett said, rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1, don't lose money. Always be in the mindset of increasing, ever increasing. You have a setback, you figure out a way, how can you move 5 steps forward? See, the setback is just to knock you back, to take an assessment, to look forward, to begin anew with more energy. How many times does a setback knock people out of the game? See, when I was playing basketball, if I got knocked down to the floor, I had to bust my butt, get up and get down the floor, and not try and, gain any sympathy over my scraped knees. Well, that is the energy of money. This is what you want to embody. Each and every day, you want to think, how can I live in the feeling of enough? And really, it comes down to gratitude. When you look at the things you have, when you're grateful for the things you have already, then you can live in the feeling that you have enough. So live in the energy of money. Mindset number 5, commit to mastering your money story. Commit. Now, commitment is key. And commitment, a lot of people have a weird relationship with commitment. See, commitment is not an obligation or a have-to. No one's making you do this. But you do it because you get the long-term value of staying the course. You see, it takes a certain something, a certain amount of focus and intent. For the most part, your story is unconscious. So you're going to be confronted by different aspects of bringing that what is hidden out into the open. And sometimes it's a little painful to look at. So you'll feel activated, you'll be triggered. But when you have the commitment, you can get over the little bumps in the road, you can stay the course. Otherwise, you'll get distracted and you'll lose focus on your money story. See, once I made the commitment to master my money story, it began reshaping my thinking. It began reorienting my mind. I began noticing how money was showing up, how it wasn't showing up, when it did show up, how it would show up spontaneously to an intention. I can remember having, I needed to pay $3,000 like that. And I just had confidence that I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how it's going to work it out, but it's going to be here. I'll be able to make the payment. And one day before the payment, I got an old coaching client called me up and said, I want to renew my contract. There it was, $3,000. I didn't do anything about it. I just created the intention. I created the opening for it to show up. I was confident that it would show up, the flow of money. I would attract it. So I was in the abundance of it. It's all about mindset, but it came from my commitment. Once I got committed, then everything started to shift. Everything started to happen. And the important thing to understand is that everybody has a story. Now, your story is the sum total of your mindsets, the beliefs, and the feelings that you have. Now, feelings are important because we have associations, feelings about money. Now, you got this story from your parents for the most part. You can blame them to some degree. You can blame them for the money story you have, but if you keep your money story, then you have to blame yourself if you don't like your story. So you got it from your parents. You also got it from conversations you overheard with other adults. Your parents talking with other adults or talking to people on the telephone. You got it from the news or entertainment. You see, from the cultural environment. My dad grew up just as the aftermath of the Depression. The Depression was just getting over. My dad was born. So he grew up in lack. He grew up in not enough. And vicariously, that was passed along to me in my early years. There was never enough, couldn't afford it. There was a whole diatribe, the whole narrative that was there. And this is what's important to understand. Your current story is not a novel. It's not like a book. It's a collection of disjointed, haphazard narratives, things that you just adopted along the way, and beliefs about your capacity to attract money, how easy it is to attract, how easy it is to hang on to, invest. Your story also dictates how much money or how little money you can earn, attract, accumulate, keep, how easily you can save it, how easily it comes, how fast it goes out. For the most part, again, you inherited your story. You inherited it before you had the conscious capacity to discern whether or not this was an idea that you wanted to hang on to. Because you see, as a kid, you're largely in trance. You're just absorbing all this information on what it means to be an adult. And these ideas, these behaviors, the emotions that your parents had around money, you've adopted, and not only from one parent, but both parents. And so you can have conflicting beliefs and not know it. And you wonder why you sabotage your efforts. It's because we always default to our training. No matter what your intention, no matter what you think you want, you default to your subconscious programming, your subconscious processes. Your story determines everything about your relationship with money. In fact, it determines just about your relationship with everything in your life because you experience yourself as worthwhile, as valuable, and that's connected to money and everything else. So your self-esteem goes up too when your connection to money becomes more fluid. If your relationship to money serves you, if your relationship is free of stress, free of anxiety, if you can create and attract more when you need it or when you want it, more importantly, then you have little to do around your story. Your story's good. But if you experience of money is less than desirable, if it needs some work, if you have stress around it, if you experience lack, if you experience boom times and slack times, then rewriting your money story will have a lot of merit. So what does it take to rewrite your money story? First and foremost, it's the attitude of an inquiry. Now, what's an inquiry? Well, honestly, an inquiry is entertainment. You're entertaining ideas. You're not searching for the answer. You're looking at things from different points of view. You're gathering information. You're looking at different attitudes, different mindsets. So in the idea of an inquiry, you're looking, you're investigating. You're not settling on a particular path yet. You may have a destination in mind, and even then, you may not know exactly where you want to end up. I've had people that have wanted to be a millionaire, but when they really looked at the nuts and bolts of it, a six-figure income was more than adequate. When they looked at the cost of their lifestyle and what they really needed to be happy with, the $1 million kind of faded away, and they were happy with the $200,000 a year because they could work a lot less. They had a lot more free time. They could really do anything that they wanted to do, and they had a lot less stress. So you can, but on the front end of it, they wanted to be a millionaire. But in the process of the inquiry, they were able to shift their perceptions, shift their goals. So the attitude of inquiry, number 2, is a dash of courage, because again, there's fear in there. There's fear to look in the darkness of your subconscious. And you have a little commitment behind it. That commitment will get you through everything. And as you move forward in mastering your money story, there's 3 phases. Phase number 1, honestly, determine where you are. What's the current story? Where are you currently? Think of a GPS example. You're programming or plotting a destination in your GPS. First thing that you have to figure out is, where are you right now? Where are you beginning? Where are you starting? And so what drives your money decisions? Is it fear or love? What's the status of your financial picture? What's your level of ease in accumulating money? So there's lots of questions here to investigate, in this inquiry. Are you currently living in lack? Is there stress around money? Is there ill will around money? Is there anger behind money? Do you tend to push money away? So there's 4 different patterns that people fall into when they handle money. That's something that we can't really go into right now, but just know that there's a lot of stuff underneath. Once you identify your current story, when you take a look at what your current picture is, and you ask yourself, why are things the way they are? What's the story here? What justifies my low bank account? What justifies the inconsistent flow of money coming into my life? You have a story about it. You have an explanation about it. You may not necessarily be conscious of it, but when you ask the question, you start to come up with an answer. And that answer, that story, is where we begin to uncover your beliefs and the mindsets that support things as they are. But understand that the way things are right now is simply the result of the past story. And the good news is we can change that. And phase 2 is releasing the old story, releasing the story and deconstructing the limiting beliefs that are there, the limiting ideas. You can deconstruct by creating doubt. Just find some examples, find some exceptions to that belief, and you weaken them. And then look for a counterexample. What's a new belief that you want to put in place? Now, the new story that you're creating from this is not necessarily just the opposite of the old story. The new story is one entirely created in possibility and abundance. A lot of times when we use the old story to create the new story, we actually come from a space of lack. And that just perpetuates more lack. So you really want to engineer a whole new existence in your new story. Now, your new story will be fleshed out better than your old story. It will stand on solid ground. But you'll need to determine, how big do you want to live? Is it just a high six-figure income, or you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to create generational wealth, wealth that lives beyond you, beyond your life, for your kids and your grandkids and so on and so forth? How much money is needed, and then how much is desired? You see, you have some decisions here, just some thinking, some questioning. And a lot of times it's just answering the questions. So what do you want to create? And how do you want to create it? That's your new story. That's phase number 2. And then phase number 3, you just live the new story. You tell it as if it's true again and again. You feel it. You feel it in your body. You take actions based on the story. You embody it. And then if things change down the road, you're not stuck with this new story. You just adapt the story to suit you, suit your conditions. So those are the 3 phases in rewriting your money story. And I didn't know these 3 phases when I first started out. I just knew that I needed to change things. And frankly, it took me a long time, longer than I was comfortable with. But it took me what it took me. But I decided that I was going to make it easier for you if you want it. If you want to master your money story once and for all, I have created a couple ways for you to do that if you want my assistance. And I can take you by the hand and lead you through it. One is I created a course, the Rewrite Your Money Story course. Now that's part of my vault. I have a number of courses inside the vault, and you could get started with that for as little as 57 bucks. Or if you want to take the fast track, I have a coaching program, a group coaching program, the Upgrade Your Money Story, and which is basically the same as Rewrite Your Money Story, but I didn't want to confuse the two. But the Upgrade Your Money Story coaching program is based on the course. You'll get the course, but we'll go through it week by week over the period of 6 weeks. And then you also have the VIP coaching with me and you one-on-one. And then in the group, we have VIP hot seat coaching. So we really get to drill in and dive in deep and get to the source of your current story, shift and change it, and create the new story that's personalized to you. The advantage of having a coach to do that is that I can see things that you can't. You can move faster. And that's the value, that's the only value of the coaching program. Maybe you are in a hurry. Maybe you want to start 2022 off with a bang. You want to completely have a new experience in 2022. So if you're interested in either the Rewrite Your Money Story course or the Upgrade Your Money Story program, the coaching program, investigate further down on this page or follow the link below this video. So that was the 5 mindset shifts to up-level your money game. And again, in summary, it was play the money game, gamify money, play it to win. 2 is embrace abundance. Live in the energy of money. The energy of money. Model success. Model other people that are doing what you want to do. If one person can do it, you can do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come from nothing. You can just copy results. Cookie cutter process. And then in the end, rewrite your money story. Master your money story. Once you commit to master it, you'll have all kinds of information flow to you. You'll have perceptions and ideas. So commitment is key. And you can literally rewrite your experience of life and money. Thank you very much. This has been Daniel Dano V. I will see you on the flip side.